to increase my vocabulary. That's what I want to show you in this English lesson. If you don't know me very well, hi, I'm Teacher Prix, and I'm going to help you talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime in English. Consider subscribing because every week I post different kinds of English lessons to help you become a better and more confident English speaker. Now, guys, increasing your English vocabulary, is that possible? Yes, let's talk about it, okay? And the first thing you're going to do is all the tips that I'm going to describe in this video revolve around one premise. Create a vocabulary tracker, okay? A tracker is a file or something you do in your notebook that helps you keep track, that helps you monitor how much you're learning. There are apps you can use, but honestly, I don't recommend using an app to do that. I'm going to give you instructions of how you're going to create your vocabulary tracker in a very simple way so that you can increase your English vocabulary and really notice the changes, okay? But there is one thing you need to understand. To increase your English vocabulary, whether you stay in this video until the end or not, you will need organization. Without organization, it'll be really difficult to improve your vocabulary, to increase the number of words you know, which is what you want. I imagine that's what you want. So in this vocabulary tracker, there are 7, I was going to say 5, but it's actually 7. There are 7 key points you need to observe and include and repeat for the rest of your journey. No matter how old you are, no matter how long you've been studying English or how long you will. And these points are type of word, frequency, consistency, material source, review, subject, and contextualization. And I will talk about each one because each one will represent something different you need to do if your goal truly is to increase your English vocabulary. So here we go. We have here subject, type of word, contextualization, and material source. Now, guys, let's think about the subject. If you want to increase your vocabulary, you have to think of a subject. And I don't mean subject just today, just right now, but every week. How often do you study? Let's take a step back. How often do you study? 3 times a week? 5 times a week? Let me know in the comments. So based on your frequency, on how often you study, you always need to think of a subject. Okay, I'm going to study this week, and my subject is, and then I'm going to work around that subject and the habit tracker, the vocabulary tracker. Now, one example of this, okay? I gave a speaking exercise to my students. I call my students BSA, Baby Sardine in the Area, in my academy, my online program. And I asked this question, I asked more questions, but this one got my attention because I gave this feedback, this recommendation, and more to my students. What are essential traits in a good leader and why? Now, this here is a question, but it could easily become a subject. Being a good leader. What are the characteristics of a good leader? And in this kind of subject, you will think, okay, what kind of words do I need? What type of words? You will probably need verbs to describe a good leader. You will probably need adjectives to describe a good leader. You will need nouns to describe a good leader. And these are the types of words you will look for. Adjectives to describe good leaders. Nouns to describe good leaders. Verbs to describe good leaders. You can Google that, okay? That's a very important point. Now, this could be a subject for a conversation, for reading, for listening, for speaking. Because another point that I need to highlight here is just Googling words, adjectives to describe good leaders. That's not good. And I will cover this in more detail when I give additional explanations about the contextualization. Okay, so that leads me to a very important point, which is combined effort. I like to call this an integrated practice. This is also something that I do with my students, and I know it works because I've been studying this way for the past 20 years of my life. I teach people, I've been teaching for more than 15 years, And I use this strategy of combining effort. And I do this in my program. I teach this in my study plan because it is a very efficient way to study. So going back, okay, type of word, I understand. The subject, I understand. Contextualization, I will talk a little bit more about it, okay? But then we have here material source. Okay. Now that I have defined what I want to study, I want to talk about, this is an example, okay? And I will leave the recommendations, the links to the video and to the article in the description of this video so that you can implement this strategy today, okay? Now, combined effort, and I like to call it integrated practice, is how you're going to combine the material sources. Because I don't want you to simply Google, nouns to describe leaders. No, you're going to find something to read, okay? What makes a good leader? What are the characteristics of a good leader? You can copy paste the question and you will find many results. So I want you to find something to read and something to watch. And I will leave the recommendation in the description of this video of this subject for you to study today, okay? And here I have a comment from a student in my academy, and he says, "Teacher, I like this article so much because it offers a combination of learning new vocabulary, sentence structure, and understanding the main concept. It integrates reading, listening, and reading comprehension." See, that's my goal. I know this works. I get this comment a lot from my students. So, okay, going back, you will track. I will talk about tracking as I continue with the lesson. So first I need to think of the key elements, the 7 key points that I mentioned. Subject. Don't just Google new advanced words, 10 advanced words I need to know. What is the subject? 10 advanced words as a doctor. Okay, I'm a doctor, but what is the specialty? What's the conversation? So you see, always think of a subject before you start working. Then you will combine effort, the material source, reading and listening. That's essential. You can also study some words related. You can simply Google words related to the subject. But I think this is going to be a much more realistic practice that will improve your English, okay? Then we go to contextualization. The way you contextualize vocabulary will matter if you want to increase the number of words you know. Because I could come here and say, no, just read and listen and you will increase the number of words you know. But that's not true. It's not enough. I would love this to be true, but I know it's not, okay? Combined effort, integrated practice. So how do you contextualize? Okay, I read something. I listen to something. I checked the new words. I Googled some words related to my subject. I understood the types of words. I'm learning phrasal verbs, I'm learning adjectives, I'm learning some expressions. Now, how do I contextualize? Now I will bring the subject to my life. So, okay, what makes a good leader? What are the traits that will make a good leader, okay? Now what do I think about this? How do I feel about this? Do I know any good leader? Do I have any example? And that's how I start bringing this question to my life. So here, guys, a key element here is to create examples. Don't simply study the words and save them on an app. Okay, new word, flashcard. That's nice, but that's not enough. You will need to create something. The more you create, the more your brain engages in that process. And in turn, you will remember more and learn more. That's what I want you to do. This is what I do with my students. As you can see, maybe you can't read because it's too small, but it's a screenshot of examples that my students create on the platform. And where do they get those words? In the integrated practice, in the reading, in the listening, in the vocabulary, because I always select a number of words connected to the subject of the week, okay? And guys, I will tell you more, but make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button. That really helps, okay? I want you to increase your vocabulary. I want you to learn more words. So stay with me until the end. And if you're interested, I have a study plan that will help you organize the way you study so that you can have more efficient results with your practice. But now, frequency and consistency, these are also elements in the 7 points. Okay? All right, Priscilla, what do you mean frequency? How often you study? I study 3 times a week. I study 5 times a week. How often do you study? Because your subject, you should dedicate a couple of days before you change subject. So let's say you study 3 times a week. I study 3 times a week, okay? English and Italian. So I focus on one subject for 2 weeks because 3 days is not enough for me. So I spend 2 weeks on one subject and I explore vocabulary, grammar, reading, listening, writing, and speaking. So you will have to define a healthy frequency for you. And that's what I meant by tracker, by vocabulary tracker. You will take notes on a piece of paper on your notebook of the actions you're taking. That's what a tracker is. So you will come up with the organizational system, but ideally you want to have this written down. Okay, I'm going to study expressions to describe an ideal boss. Okay, I'm going to talk about different types of bosses. Google this, you will find very interesting articles and videos, different types of bosses, and my opinion about them, and my experience with previous bosses, and how I felt with those bosses. So this is the subject. Oh, I want to learn 5 verbs, 3 expressions, 5 adjectives to describe different types of bosses. And there you go. And then you will include in the tracker. Did you create examples? Oh, am I creating examples? Where are my examples? How are these examples connected to my life? How often am I going to create examples this week? In my case, I study for 2 weeks. How often am I going to create examples during these 2 weeks? Oh, I'm going to create examples twice. This will be 6 times studying 2 weeks. I study 3 times a week. Okay, so 2 weeks, 6. So I'm going to create examples on 2 different days. I'm going to create examples every time I study. You have to define that. You have to track. You are responsible for your journey to fluency. So when people ask me, okay, Priscilla, let's say I start doing this work. When is my vocabulary going to increase? How long is it going to take? Tick-tock on the clock. I wish I had a crystal ball to tell you the answer. Yes, Priscilla, in 21 days, in 30 days, in 66 days. You should notice change very soon. But to understand how long it is going to take you, there is something you need to learn about. Compound effect. Have you ever heard of this term, compound effect? Basically, guys, the compound effect means that every time you do a little, small choices, consistently, over time, bring you radical difference. And that's my intention here. I could say to you, okay, in 2 weeks, you're going to be amazing. In 2 weeks, you may notice something. Okay, I like this. Oh, I remembered some words. But it's only with the repetition, these small actions, these small choices. 1% better every day. What is your choice? Do you want to be 1% better in your English vocabulary or 1% worse? That's why consistency is so important. The frequency is so important. It's much better to study twice a week than nothing at all. And it's the compound effect, doing a little, following the right strategy that will allow you to improve your English vocabulary and actually increase the number of words. I could come here and give you crazy ideas. Oh, pick 100 words and then work on the synonyms and then find the expressions. But realistically speaking, it's the little action that is going to change the results that you want, that is going to bring the results you want, okay? And tracking your progress is the icing on the cake, okay? Is really the thing you need to observe. As you can see here on the screen, there's a small picture. You can't read because it's small, but it's inside my program, I have a habit tracker to help my students monitor, because again, I want you to monitor how much you're learning. I want you to monitor how much you're doing every week, every month. You define the frequency, you track your results, you monitor your results, okay? But with my students, what do I do with my students and with myself? I track my results every week. What did I do this week? Did I study vocabulary? How many words did I study? It's important. These are questions you include in your tracker. Did I learn new words? Did I create examples? Did I create written and spoken examples? Okay. Did I connect these examples with my life? Did I integrate? Did I learn these words from my reading experience, from my listening experience? That's the tracker that I'm talking about. You have to create your own. But with my students, I create a tracker to help them understand their progress, to help them see the compound effect. And I do this not only with vocabulary, but with every skill. With the reading activities, the listening, the grammar. Because if you want to be successful, if you want to increase your vocabulary, you have to track. But you don't need to do something like extremely, different to improve your vocabulary and to track. It can be really simple. There are so many complicated apps and websites to create trackers. Make it simple, okay? Piece of paper, a notebook, and every week you write, okay, I learned these expressions, I learned these phrasal verbs, I talked about this subject, I created these examples. Okay, let's go. That's what I want you to do, okay? You will also need to track how often you're going to review, because there is a problem you may face, which is becoming obsessed with the number of words. Do not become obsessed with the number of words you know. Because as you review, as you track, okay, last week I learned 5 words. I forgot like 5. I forgot all of them. What's wrong with me? Okay? Don't let that happen. The number of words doesn't mean jack. This is an expression, it means nothing. It doesn't mean jack. Okay? Don't become obsessed. I want you to increase your vocabulary. Yes, that's true. But I don't care about the number, because you could easily come to me and say, I know 10,000 words. But if you cannot use them to describe your life, they don't mean anything, okay? So as you add more words to your list, as every week you add more subjects, compound effect, okay? You will remember some here, some there, some here, some there, one here, one there, nothing here, nothing there. And when you realize, I don't remember anything in this part, what can I do? You can create a new subject that is similar, and then you can bring those words back. See? So if you were talking about good characteristics in a boss, in a leader, how about good characteristics in a friend? They're not the same, but they're similar. You will go back to some words, some expressions, some adjectives, some verbs. That's how you keep going on the journey. That's how you increase your English vocabulary. Consistently, following the 7 points and keeping track of what you're doing, because if you don't know what you're doing, how do you know you're actually improving? I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to share it with a friend, but other than that, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!